The new channel. The new channel.
The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome to the new channel, here to help you see the new you. This is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, your host of the show, The HR Hotline. Welcome back. This is your HR Hotline. What a day. I started early. This is my new normal. I was doing a webinar, a very interesting webinar on the new HR leader. It's actually a workshop on HR proficiency, and it is most needed. I urge you to join my webinars on this. It's actually changing your mindset. Then I have one up and coming at the end of August on HR supervisory. After this streamline, I will do the closing remarks of the Itipanan of the Philippine Society for Talent Development. And after I close, I am requested to do the closing ceremonies. It's actually the Kirkpatrick way of asking what are the reactions of the 2-day HR summit. No. 2-day digital summit of PIMA. What am I? I am not bragging. What I'm not telling you. For HR, especially for those in the learning and talent development, this is our time. We must seize this moment. We are frontliners. We are most needed. This is the time of our lives that learning and talent development is at the forefront because we are transitioning. It doesn't mean that we are in the pandemic. Education or training stops. As I mentioned, the more that we are needed. Why? We have to orient. We have to onboard people. We have to retrain people to reskill, upskill on what we need now, the requirements of what we need. Remember that almost all of us are doing AWA. Actually, we got it from the civil service, the alternative work arrangement. Because usually in the private sector, we use the term flexible work arrangement. So while we are on remote distance working arrangements, the learning and development function is most needed. We still have to do interventions from the simple, I call it simple, but it's difficult, mentoring to coaching. It's most needed now. But of course, there is a new way of doing it because you're using different platforms. Then we are requested to do synchronous. We have to be in sync with our collaborative tools. And of course, working with our technology. I just cannot understand my microphone was functioning up to yesterday, but today it's not. So I'm back to my earphones. And then of course we have to teach them, it's still part of learning and development, that culture change. So what is it? What is it happening now with the learning and talent development? What are the initiatives that we are doing? How do we fare in that particular function of talent development? We invited a special guest. He's a friend of mine. We have been together with PMAP for the longest time. And he's a very kind person because whenever we are together, he makes me feel comfortable. I was not able to be under his board when he was president, but I attended. I was very much engaged with the committees because at the time I was a board member for the longest time. But we are together with the Philippine Society for Training and Development before. When I was president in 2011, he was the chairman. And I learned a lot from him. I consider him my mentor. He's a scholar ng bayan, a past president, and a an elder, a leader in the learning development industry. He is now the executive director of the Civil Service Institute. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my idol, my mentor, and my dear friend. I will call him past president of PMAP, Mr. Arturo Turok Florentin.
Good afternoon, Jesse.
Good afternoon. Thank you for grazing and being our guest here at our TNC HR hotline. Sir Turok, where are you now?
I'm at home
So
sa
you're
bahay.
really working at home. But
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, your being the director of CSI still continues.
Yes, yes.
Okay, before we have our first break, let us talk about CSI. So what are the updates or initiatives that the uh, Civil Service Institute are doing now that we are in this pandemic?
Well, we are transitioning from classroom training to online learning. In fact,
Wow.
before we had the quarantine, community quarantine, um, we shifted our work from delivering classroom training to reviewing and revisiting our courses because of the social distancing. We cannot, implement courses um, um, because of ano yung uh, because we cannot have no, several people in the same place, no. So what we did was, during the quarantine, we reviewed and revisited our courses, and now we are running webinars. We are initially running webinars, but later on we also would like to develop e-learning and micro learning modules.
I see. So that means that you are again operating. There is no lull with what the CSI is doing.
Yes, so we're just continuing with what we need to do, but we have also shifted some of our courses to be more relevant to what is
I
needed on the.
love that. Actually, what you just mentioned is my question. So you have shifted content, topics and content of what you are offering.
Yeah, for example, we have CSC has some new memorandum circulars because of COVID-19, like for example, digital appointments and uh, other the no, alternative work arrangements. So we're conducting webinars to introduce this, no, or clarify this to the different agencies. We have just also concluded a webinar on public service values in times
Oh,
of adversities.
that is most needed. So what for the interest of our viewers, what do they do? Do agencies request you to do trainings for them, or it's the other way around? The CSI tell them that they take your courses. How do
Well,
you
we
do
take
that?
a look at what's needed, and then we design the courses and offer them. No, but we feel that these are really relevant because, for example, with the public service values in times of adversities, we opened the registration. For example, now we opened it today. By the next day, we already closed it because it's already full,
Ah,
and
that's most needed. Yeah.
uh, our capacity was around 100.
That is what is wonderful with the new normal, because since we are virtual, you can really open a an event wherein your participants can even be as far flung as in Mindanao. But you
Yeah.
know what you're doing is really most needed, because there are a lot of concerns regarding how our public servants are doing in response to the COVID-19. And that one of the the initiative that you're doing, I think that is most needed, especially for the frontliners, how they respond or how they treat the the citizen, the people, the Filipino. Kasi we can I can see it in the post that there are some lapses and how they function as providers of what government's supposed to do. So thank you very much that you have such an initiative from CSI. The next question will do that after our first break, Sir Turok. Can
Mhm.
we have the first break, and then so that will our conversation will not be cut later on, because I have lots of interesting questions for you. So can we have the first and Welcome back to HR Hotline. I'm so happy I can again. Good morning, Past President Obet Policarpio, and he says hi to the CSI Director, Mr. Florentin. My niece, who is an owner of three hotels in Naga City. Christy, happy birthday. It was last week. I was waiting for your treat. And then, of course, Mr. Roman Bayson and Beatriz Carmela Rovina. They're all trainers. But I would like really to mention this. Roel Santiago is now a current trustee of the Philippine Society for Talent and Development. My good friend Ruel, he posted here, true, all talent development professionals need to move on a forced shift and transition to a new platform, not so new to others. Learning intervention delivery. True. That is what, woe to you if pre-COVID you did not plan. If you listen to what our special guest mentioned earlier, they were already trying to review their courses even before uh, the ultimate disruption, which is COVID 19. And PMAP, with PMAP, I had two webinars months before. We didn't know that this will happen to us. So I'm a little bit used to delivering something which is not actually face to face. And as president of POPS now, that is the Philippine Association of Professional Speakers, the transition to the new platform is actually it's forced. We have to hone our skills, shift our facilitation skills using a new platform. Next time, because I'm asking my helper to do a frame, I will be standing because I'm not used to talk while sitting down. Okay, but much that I already mentioned. Let's go back to our special guest and ask. Oh, but before we do that, there is an announcement here that you have to be tuned in to the TNC. We have uh, uh, selected time for interesting shows. We have the big picture that is from Mondays to Fridays. Mine is actually your lunch date. We have the business with Dr. Mike and Bert on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Then we have the project, the fourth project. If you want some personal and grandiose visions that you have, sharing of people, which is very, very nice and interesting, we have the U-turn, the home buyer by Dante Salamat, and fun with the puppet stories with Wan Lu. Then it is the in thing now. You have to be with the marketplace, and it's at 10 o'clock. Last night, actually, I was Thursdays. Yes, I was viewing it, and I was interested. Then Mondays, this one are for speakers. Also nice, wonderful show of the talk. Then we have just inaugurated the after shift by Chino and Tricia and the town hall. So this is the new normal. Always tune in to TNC, the new channel, and make it a point that I am your lunch date because we talk of very relevant things, not only for HR, but for you that you can use it. Okay, so let's go back to Sir Turok and then ask him right away. Can we have Mr. Florentin? Sir Turok, what are the top three challenges that the learning and development as a practice is currently facing?
Well, the first challenge is how to shift from classroom to online learning. No,
Yes.
because while there are already available platforms and applications, we have not really paid much attention to those
Right.
technologies. So now we have to fast track shifting. Now, part of shifting also is being able to engage participants online because through virtual online learning, we will not be able to see everything. Sometimes their videos are off,
Yeah.
or you have too many if you have too many participants, you will not see everybody,
I
and
just
therefore
did that.
you don't have any clue as to what is happening, what are they thinking of. So you will need to make use of different platforms to engage participants. And third is, how do we validate learning?
Yeah.
Sometimes we just present, but later on, how do we validate learning? Because in the end, what is more important is knowing that they gain from the program because they learn something. In fact, when in classroom training, we can take a look at physical attendance, no, and we
Yes.
say that they have completed the training.
Yes.
But
Yes.
with virtual learning, online learning, there's no physical attendance. We're not even sure that they're paying attention, and therefore,
Yeah.
after
True.
the course or the module, we need to validate learning.
Yes. Yes. You know, you just did that. The last day will be tomorrow because, but you know, when I do webinars now, I make it a point that every after 5, 10 minutes, I have to ask them a question and I have to sit there and I have to request, can you open the, but of course we cannot really force them to open the the screen. But I ask them to go,
Mhm.
can you open your, can I see your face and then unmute so that can, so you have to ask. So even in the delivery, there is a change. Even in the facilitation, there is a change so that you can be, you can check on engagement. But I like that. What is more is the assessment, and I think, Sir Turok, this is where we have now to. Of course, we know what is ADI. You must know
Mhm.
the training needs now. But that one that you said about assessment, you now really have to use full use of Kirkpatrick. So their behavior is a little bit a problem because you cannot see them. But the more on the learning, so we have to. I like that. We have to assess if they really learn as far as the distance or the remote. But I think what you're going to do are blended, Sir Turo.
That's right. That's right. Actually, we use synchronous to facilitate group discussions. But after
Yes,
group discussions, we use a synchronous method to find out what did they learn. So we can ask them, what are your insights? And then they can post. And they can also read each other's insights so that they can learn also from each other. So
yeah,
that's one synchronous method that we use. Another is we request them to come up with certain outputs. So given whatever they learn, they should
yes,
now be able to, to apply it and come up with an output and then submit the output.
yeah.
Like for
That is.
example, coming up with strategies or action plans.
Yes, that is what I'm doing now. Wherein I requested the staff of PMAP to come up with a group chat. Then and then I asked them to befriend me in Facebook so that we can converse also in Viber and in Messenger. Aside from the assignment in the email. So the next one is related to this question. So what shifts do you see in the LND in the new normal in terms of content? You mentioned that earlier that you have already shifted with CSI. So what is for for all of us here? What is now your advice? What is the content that we must be doing now?
Well, I assume that we're all hearing the new term, new normal,
Yes.
because the COVID forced us into doing certain things, and I think that this will be a new normal with or without COVID. Like for example, we need to now be more conscious of health and wellness. No, for as long as there's COVID, we need to, even if we can, we can already go out and go around. We need to be very very careful
Can can,
because
can I can I cut you this before you continue?
yeah.
You know, that particular theme or topic, that was not actually the focus before. Remember, I used to be uh, uh, a consultant of ILO, and we made courses for safety, for
Yes.
flight. And then it was a little bit my what do you call this? Nagtampo ako kasi it was nice, but when it was already implemented, not that the one training it was not so passionate about it, but the audience, Sir Turok, at that time hindi nila appreciated yung safety. Kasi I was moving
Mm.
around and evaluating. Just imagine can you relate with me that I made it a point that it is so engaging there. But when you look at how the audience reacted, they were so a little bit sleepy kasi they were not. So I think this time talaga hindi ka na sleepy kasi everybody is scared. So the content is health and
That's
safety.
right. And because of that, we need to observe social distancing, and therefore we need to consider alternative work arrangements. But with
Yan,
alternative work arrangements, we will now work, you know, separately, and therefore we need to look into stakeholder engagement or remote leadership.
right. So yan ang mga content.
Uh,
Remote leadership, yeah, stakeholders engagement. Oo naman. Just imagine if the leaders, kung sa governo, these are the directors, are not really used to having synchronous collaborative Zoom meetings, talking
mm,
with the staff. 'Di ba at that time, 'di ba, ang hirap-hirap pumasok sa room ng director 4. Ngayon, you are together in a screen. So that should be
mm.
taught. It should be a topic. 'Di ba?
You
And then
know, we're experiencing a paradox. Why?
right,
Because we need to practice social distancing. We are isolating each other physically, no, but we are now collaborating more
yun
because
ang
we're no longer just meeting within our small teams, but we can actually meet across geographies, across regions. So, people are now more collaborating more because of the technology.
okay. So I think yung what the content of what Ellen Dition must be doing now is that one. And about this book, for those who are also in the staff or the rank and file, building their confidence. Kasi now they are actually in meetings wherein their bosses are with them. Dapat siguro
Mhm.
may and there should also be that training. What do you call that? That program to build confidence. Di ba
Yeah.
po?
Uh, uh,
So, wala muna tayo sa mga business writing. Wala muna tayo doon. Wala muna. Doon muna tayo talaga sa mga paradigm shift, mind setting siguro so that we can transition to the new normal. So,
So you know what the biggest is digital transformation.
right. I was just waiting for you to mention that. Dapat ituro kasi we should not assume that they know it. Yes.
Mm.
So mayroon na kayong program for that.
Well, we have HR roles in the new normal. We
Yes.
also have leaders roles in the new normal.
Yes.
So those are the webinars that we're now uh,
Yeah.
doing.
So just imagine we go back to fundamentals, which are actually we're talking now of roles. We're now talking of, I was even mentioning that it's actually a challenge for those HR or learning and development wherein they were not yet in the competency based. Yung hindi pa identified yung KRAs and KPIs. Ang hirap po ngayon mag monitor ng productivity. So I think that should be the content also.
Yeah, that's right. No, kailangan medyo mas strategic ang leaders ngayon because we cannot just take a look at activities. We must be more results oriented because you cannot see people working, but you'll be able to measure outputs and results. So we need to be more results oriented. We cannot even measure attendance. Diba?
Yes,
If you're working at home, then you don't even know if it's 8 hours or
yes.
not. But given the outputs that they are able to submit, then more or less you know their productivity.
Yes. So the more that L&D is needed now, because we really have to shift the mindsets of people, transform them. So we really need to facilitate their transformation into whatever. So in that whatever, that means that the L&D at least must have a vision of what will be the new person or the new ano. So I think yun
Mm.
po ang content natin. Okay. So let us go deeper to specific. What do you think are the new methods and platforms that they should use? We're now go to the. I know you are our elder, and tell us from the traditional what we can get from the call from the traditional and what are the new methods of doing it now?
Okay, we're taking a look at three approaches. The
Right.
first one is webinar, and this is the easiest. Why? Because you can just convert yung classroom uh, designs into webinars, and what we do is just we partition uh, the classroom, yung course, we partition it into several sessions, because when you're digital, you cannot just run the whole course tuloy-tuloy 8 hours.
Right, right.
So we partition this into 2 hours, 2 hour sessions, and we do this now 2 hours a day. But
Mm-mm.
because we partitioned it, we're also using action learning approach, where they learn and then they try to apply, and then in the next session they talk about the applications, what were their um, concerns, or what made it easy for them. No, and then they learn something new again, and then they apply. So it's a cycle, and I think that they're learning much more than you know um, downloading so much in 1 or 2 days.
Right.
Now it's on a longer period of time. So
So in a way, it is not advisable that we just feed them to attend all these free webinars. Kasi sometimes what you just mentioned, downloading them, yung para bang slow din, a little bit slower yung kanilang connectivity, yung kanilang Wi-Fi sa utak. So too much information may be also a challenge to the attendees or participants. I like
yeah.
that. Yeah. So
Well, two more approaches, no? Webinar, and then e-learning and micro-learning. Yung e-learning, it's self-paced, so they can access e-learning modules anytime, anywhere, whenever they need it. It's a full course, while micro-learning are bite-sized learning. They are more of the format of a 5-minute videos, where they can which they can just watch anytime they need to do something new. They need to learn to do certain things, they'll just watch it, and then they'll be able to do it.
So, dapat available. So, dapat ang L&D person ngayon, naka-curate yan. Kasi dapat mga off-the-shelves yan po.
Yes. Well, dapat meron tayong portal or platform where those are accessible. But one problem here is, pag sobrang dami na yan na accessible, it will be confusing also which one ang gagamitin ng mga
Right. So
participants.
the L&D is actually a coordinator. They have to seek you to advise what they should for the micro.
And that's where curation comes in.
Okay. Now, sa Turok, alam mo, I have a mention of that e-learning. Di ba you know that I was with Inquirer and that was long ago. At that time, Ma'am Sandy enrolls me. Ang dami ko pong na-enroll. Of the 5, siguro 3 lang natapos ko. Si Chito San Mateo ang nakakatapos for me. So mahirap pa. So ang hirap po ng e-learning kasi it's your own pace and it depends how busy you are. And then tapos nag-lapse na and you're not able to get your certification. Yan ang problema po doon.
Hmm. You know why? Kasi we're running e-learning as if we're running a classroom course na we want them to complete the whole course. Actually, with
Right.
e-learning, it's available anytime. It's self-paced. Therefore, they can just select what is it that they need right now.
I
What is
like
what,
that.
what is something that they can immediately apply and improve their performance. So they don't even have to complete. What is more
Kitam,
important, they're able to learn something and then apply it and improve performance.
wonderful. Talaga CSI Executive Director ka po. Just imagine, ang dami kong na-enroll na ang mamahal, then I was not able to finish it kasi nga, diba, there is no time anymore.
Pero
Ayan.
remember, when you enroll and subscribe, it's for a certain period like 1 year,
Yan nga,
which
yan nga.
means those learning materials are available to you the whole year, and therefore you can access whatever you need anytime that you actually need to do something.
Alam mo, this should be in, what do you call this, disseminated, and we have to inform all the L&D. Kasi, uh, I know that, but this is the first time that you really made it clear that the e-learning should be treated this way. If you are
Mm.
the L&D facilitating e-learnings to our, usually ang e-learnings are for high performers and for managers. And sometimes it's really a stress na you have to finish that. I like that sector. Pero I love also yung micro-learning. Yung
Mm.
micro-learn. Ay, ito, should this be prepared in-house, or should this be, you just get it from, what do you call this, can?
Pareho. Pareho. Because even sa YouTube, you can already
I like
uh, search some relevant videos already from YouTube. But you need to curate kasi hindi naman lahat diyan accurate or hindi lahat
curate because in the
tama, di ba?
accurate.
So it has to be curated.
Yes. So the problem now of the HR is yung career dev niya na ginagawa has to be curated. Hindi pa tayo nag-uusap po na dapat that should be matched with the career path of the person.
Oo. Oo.
Di ba? Kasi
Oo.
malay mo, you keep on endorsing that he should take this, pero hindi naman talaga required or needed for his growth. Di ba? So mayroon ba tayong program on that, on how L&D during this pandemic that we are looking at this concern, na mayroong yung what is the real responsibility of L&D is to curate nga so that you are accurate with the meron pa
Oo.
tayo.
Well,
Meron pa
wala pa, but I think we need to have that also.
yeah. Kasi, di ba, yung parang it goes along yung organization culture. And then your intervention mo, the topics that you're doing can also affect yung sa session planning kasi what you feed them. So ang isa palang key na nakuha ko sa iyo is how you really have to, are we using the right term? Curate
Curate, yeah, yeah. Oo.
curate the programs that you're giving to particular individuals or group.
Mm.
But of course, we have, kasi baka maubusan tayo ng oras. And then I know you have lots of thoughts that you all will share. What is now the state of the learning and talent development industry? Post-COVID or even without COVID, what can you say as an elder, as a person of been there in the learning development industry for the longest time? Another pang state natin.
Well, it's shifting to being focused more and more on the individual learner.
Right.
Before, may mga curriculum tayo. Meron tayong mga courses na standardized for everybody. But
Yeah.
now, because of technology, each person can learn what they need to learn at the time they need it.
Correct.
not going through the whole 3 day or 2 day course, or even the whole, yung mga mahahaba na courses, no, because more often than not they go through that, but they don't need all of what they learn.
I,
Now may bagong concept, ang tawag diyan five-hour rule.
yes.
5 hour rule. This concept is based on the fact na we need to allocate 1 hour learning every day. Kaya 5 hours a week, no? And that 1 hour learning that we allocate, we can use it to read or research, no, to reflect and to experiment. Because if we will continually, read something or learn something by watching videos, uh, we will also be able to do something new. So can you imagine that if you divide your learning into several small bites every day, then when it gets accumulated, you will learn much more than when you go through a formal course.
But Sir Turok, this is a new concept wherein talagang you have to shift your paradigm as far as learning and talent development is concerned. Kasi right now, we're so structured. Yung traditional
Mm.
na, yun nga, that there is an outline, there is I mean, what do you call this, a program for a certain group of employees. Now you're telling us that this is more of something that is individual, and then the L&D job now is really to make it personal, individual. What is his need?
Provide them with opportunities for learning. Provide them with the materials. Pero bahala na sila which one they would like to learn.
You hit it right. You nailed it po. Kasi di yun nga ang tanong, how will you really initiate na siguro will just give them a menu. Am I right
Mm.
po?
That's
A menu.
right.
I mean, no. And then siguro what you can do is after that, you'll just assess it later on. Anong nakuha. And it's still coming from the person. Oh, this is
Yeah.
a new this is a new concept. So this is actually a big shift from the usual thing. Kasi ngayon ang gusto pa nga, even with the COVID, there are still some of those agencies calling me. They would like to have hindi na face to face, naka-broadcast daw ako. Kasi they would like to be in a room wherein a number of them are attending.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on that po?
Malaki ang advantage ng virtual. Why? Because we don't have to spend so much on meals. We don't have to spend so much on printed materials. Our clients don't, or participants don't have to spend on travel, on accommodations. Kaya ngayon pagka virtual, nationwide yung participants mo, and they don't even have to to travel, 'di ba? Ah, paggising nila, they just join. They
Oh
just
yeah.
join. So you don't really now need to gather as a group to learn, kasi you can learn from each other pa rin. Because for example sa Zoom, merong breakout rooms
Yes, yes,
and
yes,
they can talk to each other.
yes.
Or you can provide a chat group where they can place their insights, ideas, they can read each other's insights and learn from each other.
Okay. Okay, let's go back to that question. What are your other thoughts on the state of the learning and talent development po? Right. Anong, where are we leading to?
Well, there's malaki ang where are they leading to, no? Malaki ang mga changes ngayon, including yung the kind of talent that we want to
Right,
develop, no?
right.
Because kamukha niyan, no, we need to go into digital transformation, and everybody has to be techno savvy. no? So that's part ng mga bagong dapat matutuhan.
Mhm.
Actually ang nangyari niyan, delayed na tayo sa technology.
Right.
We are into the fourth industrial revolution. 10 years na. Nag-start yung fourth industrial revolution ng 2010.
Yes.
But delayed tayo because hindi tayo masyadong gumagamit ng technology.
Yes.
Okay? Ngayon, biglang because it's now a necessity, we are forced to use platforms so that we can continue communicating with each other. Then bigla we discovered na meron palang ganito. Like for example, you mentioned Zoom.
Yes.
You know na 2011 meron na yan.
Of course. Sa BPO,
Di ba?
ginagamit yan for meetings.
Pero ilan ang gumagamit before COVID?
Oh, very few.
Di ba? We're not paying attention kasi we're not using it. But now, people are using it every day, several times a day.
Yes. Yes. Okay. Okay. Yung what I like what you just mentioned, dapat mayroon ka munang vision of what you want your employees in the future. Di ba? You mentioned that. So from
Mm.
that, you can come up with your uh, uh, talent development program. So for all of
Mhm.
the HR, ang what we should do siguro is have an FGG or a conversation with your boss na parang due to this pandemic, where are we leading to? What is the new, say, Dole employee, which is the new PSTD employee? And after that,
Mhm.
we'll have to. So, pabalik ka pa rin po doon sa what are the competencies needed? The new
That's
competencies that
that's
needed.
right.
Kailangan
That's
pa rin. Oo. Pero ang mahirap lang po na sinabi nyo, yung which is mentioned here by Roel Mariano, the self-directed learning. Kasi this one,
Mm.
you really have to change the mindsets of people that it's self-directed, then they are responsible of what they really need.
Yeah.
Mm-mm. Okay. So we'll have the second break before we uh, get your parting message. Can we have the second break for this show? The announcements for this show? Welcome back to HR Hotline. Hello, Regina Feliciano. I'm so glad Donald, who is in Saudi, is watching. And I'm so happy B. Panaga of Paps is also watching. And then my dear friend, my former manager, she knows our special guest, Eileen Academia Garcia. Hello, Eileen. I'm still waiting for the puto that you sell now online, and I just hope we can have it delivered as soon. Anyway, we will have our guest on Saturday will be the Director General of ECOP, that's the Employer Confederation of the Philippines. Then, keeping my fingers crossed, but he already accepted. Our Tuesday's special guest, is the Secretary of Labor. So try to PM me what questions you would like to ask him. Okay, going back, we are now in the portion of the job fair, FARE. So the question is, as an HR person, as a learning and talent development person, how do you fare now after you heard about what you just discussed? Are you updated in what you do? Are your are the programs that you do now are really appreciated and contributes to the growth of the human resource? So how do you fare? We, we were advised that you have to be careful with the topics, with the content that you're teaching now. It has to be relevant. So you have to use your ADI if you know it. Then you have to use your uh, Kirkpatrick assessment. So what you we should have learned pre-COVID, we are doing now. Just like what was mentioned, Zoom was already there, but we're not so keen on it. Then all the synchronous, asynchronous, we have to look at it and then come up with new ways. What was the self-directed training? So how do you fare with that? So the thing is, wag na tayo magsisihan. We have to catch up and double time. The worst is, if you're still learning, my word is woe to you, because it is assumed, it is expected that at this time you have known it already. So let us go back to Sir Turok to continue our, our discussion before I ask him. Sir Turok, before I ask you to do your parting message, I have a question. So this time, let's go to the individual uh, trainer, the
Mm.
talent development person. What are the do's and don'ts that they must be aware of that we are in this transition? What are the do's and don'ts?
Okay, siguro do's and don'ts, they should be conscious um, before before the camera, no, because sometimes we don't see our audience, we don't see the participants, and sometimes because we don't, we tend to forget that we are in front of so many people. Because we are virtual, maaring hundreds yan, maaring thousands yan, and you might do something no na akala mo ah, konti lang palang ano nandiyan. So
Yeah.
that's
You're
one.
caught with your chit chat. Yes, that's the first one. But other, ano pa po? What are the do's
Being
and
more
don'ts?
being more ano, parang exploratory and experimental.
Yes.
Because there's so much that there's so many technologies, so many digital applications that can be used. Kaya lang, yun nga, hindi natin tinitingnan, hindi natin alam. Pero for example, when we started using Zoom, then we discovered ang dami palang ano, may whiteboard yan, may breakout
Yes.
room, merong
Yes.
mga polls, merong so many, and hindi lang yan, ang dami palang platforms for meetings, no? Like for example, may Zoom, may
Teams.
MS Teams, may Lark Suite, may Google
Ye-
Suite.
Google Sheet. Yes. Yes.
And then they are parang components yan na you can combine different subsystems so that you can make better use of. So continue discovering, continue discovering what is available already.
Yes. So,
Mm.
Sir Turok, thank you very much kasi ang bilis po ng oras. Pero give us your message, your parting message na for the HR and L&D practitioners and professionals listening to us now.
Yeah, well, yung COVID-19 pandemic is primarily a global crisis, but it is also an opportunity to transform because it is forcing us not to make use of technology that before we are not paying attention to, and therefore my advice is for us to be more experimental and to explore what is available, make the best use of it so that we can transform ourselves, we can transform our organization so that we can be more in step with the fourth industrial revolution. Available na, ang dami ng ano available na ano, kaya lang yun nga, hindi natin minamaximize yun. So can you imagine how much pala ang savings kung walang meals dahil kasi hindi ka na ano, hindi ka naka-classroom, no? And how much yung convenience din ng participants because they don't even have to travel to where you are. No? So ang dami pang ano, ang dami pang mga advantages. So the best is to focus on the opportunities and to make the best use of advantages that there are kesa focusing on the crisis.
Right. Thank you very much. Wag ka muna po, walas mag-usap tayo after this. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. That is actually my intro. This is the moment. And do not look at I like that last statement of Serto Rock. Do not look at the crisis. Should not focus on that. We have to focus on the opportunity that you are most needed now. So that brings me, okay, na-flash dito yung we are hiring, of course, Wills Decena, our what do you call this, our sponsor for this. Looking for sponsors. Kailangan po nila nito ng pollution control officer, safety officer, HRS supervisors, talent acquisition supervisors. You have to proceed to their main office in Tandang Sora. Okay. So ito yun po. So let's hold on that. Let's hold on that so that you can get this. Will Descend and Associates and uh, look for Ryan and Eileen. I'm working on a virtual job fair here, and Eileen is here. We used to do organize job fairs with Inquirer. So I'm trying to work out with uh, Vice President Grace Rongon if we can have a whole day or 2 days dedicated for job fair. So what is plus here are Puzzleback is also in need of an HR officer. Oy, pwede na ako na lang mag-ano dyan, mag-consultant. Social community moderators. Ay, can we go back kasi I'm reading it po. Graphic artists, copywriters, and media buyers. You know, we have to be thankful if there are still some companies, some organizations, be it small and medium enterprises, they're still looking for people. So that means that there is still hope. Pero yun ang pinag-usapan namin last time. There are a lot with Asek Nikitutay. There are a lot of those who are out of work, but there are some HR having problems. Bakit? Alam mo ang sagot, attitude. Attitude. The skills are there, but your attitude. Diba? So let me try to finish our wonderful show this afternoon. So that reminds me yung sinabi ng ating special guest with the mission of the Philippine Society for Talent and Development. It was a lengthy mission before, but a year ago, during the term of IPP, Femari Kabantak, we went there, kasama dyan si Roel Mariano. We went to Tagaytay, not really to enjoy the breeze, but we came up in our strategic planning, the new mission of PSTD, which is we learn. Yes, for HR And for those in the learning profession, we have to learn as fast as we can, as quickly as we can. And we are not even expected that we are actually going to enroll and learn. There are hundreds of webinars, but we are now asked to curate it because the point is, it's not for our own gain that we learn. The point is that we learn to impart. We don't learn even the methods. It's already given. We don't even have to learn the the programs. What we have to learn is actually, as mentioned by the special guest, the big picture. The title of Lloyd Luna's show, the big picture, so that you will see what is our vision of our human resource, so that you connect everything. Then the second one we learn, we grow. We don't grow that because of what we do, we are promoted. Because of what we do, we gain. No, we don't do that. We grow. Nobody should be left behind. We grow the community. We grow. We have to facilitate the transformation and bring our human resource into what we think is the new person, is the new Honda, is the new SM, new Jollibee. We learn, we grow, and we transform. And that is actually what we should really focus on. Because we are in a transition. When you are in a transition, we need to influence change, unlocking and changing our mindsets, our paradigms. The problem is that we have to be quick and come up with programs to respond to this. We learn along the way, we call it reflective activity. While we're doing it, we reflect, we'll grow, and that is strategic so that we can transform both you, your organization's human resource, and your organization. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, this is Jesse Francis Rebustillo, Yus Mabalos